Good day, friends. It's Good Friday today. This is a day where Christians over the ages have taken time for some somber reflection on the crucifixion of Jesus. And it's definitely a day for some lament. I want you to imagine for a moment what it must have been like for Jesus' friends, his disciples, who saw him murdered before their eyes. In Matthew 27, Matthew records that as he was breathing his last, the whole place went dark for 3 hours. 12 noon till 3 p.m., darkness covered the land. I imagine beyond their fear, they felt a certain amount of hopelessness. And they'd forgotten all that Jesus had promised them, what would come to pass. They'd forgotten all about that. Now, in this current context that we find ourselves in, I think we have lots of reason for lament. Lament is appropriate and good for the believer. You see, if we're to come out of this, and if we are to come out and rebuild and be full of faith and courage and vision, I think we first need to go through a process of lamenting. I've been thinking a lot about the kinds of lament that might be going on. You know, for the teenager, especially the matric student, there might be some major lament around the fact that they were saving their best academic effort for this year and it just got a whole lot more challenging. Perhaps they were looking forward to running out for their first rugby team in one of the many brilliant festivals around our city over this Easter weekend. Perhaps this was the year for them to lead the school or star in the main production. Perhaps their matric dance, which they'd been looking forward to for some time, is in jeopardy. Good reasons for lament. For us old guys, we might look back and say, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. But actually for a 17-year-old, it is the end of their world in many ways. I think there's case for lament for the business owner who is facing potential ruin through this. There are people who may be facing the loss of their permanent employment, not knowing where they'll be going, what they're going to be doing. What is it that you are needing to lament at this time? What losses are you feeling that you're needing to lament of? Lament is appropriate. It's a healthy behavior. It's facing the loss, being real about the loss, weeping if need be, but doing it in the knowledge that we have a Father who loves us and who's sovereign and works all things for our ultimate good. You see, lament is turning toward God when sorrow tempts you to run away from Him. Lament is bringing your complaint to God, honestly sharing with Him how you feel. Now, He knows how you're feeling, but verbalizing it to Him, identifying the pain raging in your soul. Lament is boldly asking Him for help, coming to Him in faith, trusting in His very good promises to us. Lament is choosing to trust Him through the brokenness of our world. See, we mourn the loss, and in the midst of our tears, we reach out in faith to Him, and that's where it becomes redemptive. Lament is the prayer language. It's the privilege we have as Christians that are walking through this broken and damaged world. It's how we talk to God about our sorrows, our challenges, our fears. You see, to cry is a human thing, but to lament is a Christian behavior. And it's a behavior that we can all be engaging in at this time. The passage in Matthew continues. When Jesus cried out in a loud voice and gave up His spirit, at that moment the temple curtain was ripped from top to bottom. The earth shook. There was earthquakes. It split. Rocks split. The tombs broke open and people who were dead were running around the city. Matthew records when the centurion and those who were with him guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and all that happened, they were terrified and they exclaimed, "Surely this was the Son of God." I think in that phrase, we have the promise of God's deliverance. He recognizes who Jesus was. And we know with hindsight that Easter Sunday was coming. You see, once we have lamented as Christ followers, we are free to get up and to ask God for the creativity to servant-heartedly go about meeting the needs in a COVID-19 ravaged world. We can be bringers of hope. So this Good Friday, when we as a church had some amazing plans, we were kind of staging our biggest campaign ever called The Great Stay Away. Little did we realize that this really would be the great stay away. Perhaps you had a holiday planned, other bits of fun over this long weekend. I want to encourage you to lament the loss. Weep and cry if need be. Be honest with God about your feelings of loss and your fears for the future. But do it in faith that your Heavenly Father hears your cry. He understands you. In fact, He understands you better than you understand yourself. And He loves you more than you will ever know. Trust in His good promises to you. He has promised that even through these tough times, He's working this for your ultimate good because you love Him and you've been called according to His promises. If you're a Christ follower watching this today. And then fourthly, stand up and ask Him to fill you with creativity and passion and courage and wisdom, that we might be those that serve Joburg, that serve our city in rebuilding the broken walls once we are through this pandemic. So it starts with lament, but just like Easter, friends, this can end in a wonderful victory. Let's keep trusting Him. Let's open our hearts up to Him, weep if we need to. But I want to encourage you to have an amazing day. Have a super Good Friday, and so look forward to seeing you on Sunday. God bless.